So we got the official kind of trailer for Street Fighter 6. What does this mean? Hey, what's up guys, it's Mark Yoon and today for another hopefully exciting video. So for those of you that are around my age or demographic, I guess, we grew up playing Street Fighter. It is a staple of arcades everywhere from our childhood, as well as hanging out at our friend's house and playing Nintendo or Super Nintendo, so on and so forth. Like, Street Fighter was just one of the base games that got people into fighting games, and it holds a special place in people's hearts. It's got a ton of lore, especially when you take into consideration the comics. Everyone's familiar with Udon's art. Not only mentioning that, we have all the various anime, the live action, I guess, if you want to count that, as good of a movie as it is for being bad. But there's something that Capcom has had a problem with recently, and I'm not talking about art theft. I'm talking about iterations of their games. So I know we're long past the days where we have all of our data and information on the disc, right? We're in the age of DLC and add-on content. I'm completely content with that in certain circumstances, as long as it's not too overbearing. I'm fine for paying a bunch of money for extra characters to add to the roster of the game, so we don't get a direct sequel every year. I just think that that's bad practice. So I always use the example of there's such a lackluster difference between Tenkaichi 2, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 3, that if they just made those extra characters, which I think they added 8 characters, as a DLC pack, it would have been a lot more digestible for me than going out and spending another $60 on Tenkaichi 3, which I still prefer Tenkaichi 2 just for the story mode. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. I don't expect you to share that hot take, but when it comes to Street Fighter, it seems like their newest generation of fighting games has followed a similar formula. They release a base game that has almost nothing in it. Street Fighter 5 had no story mode when it first launched. Were we talking 12 to 15 characters minimum, and just nothing to do in the game besides arcade mode or fighting online. I know a lot of this is especially directed at esports, so a lot of people that want to play this game in tournaments, they want to get the game out there because that's going to promote the game. I get all that. But the problem that I've been having with it is the direct iterations of the games. So those of you who know me know that I'm a Soul Calibur primary channel. I cover multiple fighting games, but Soul Calibur is the main one. But my main videos that are actually the highest viewed are Street Fighter videos. So I was asked by a few people, am I going to cover the trailer? If you can even call it a trailer, it's just a teaser. The information that we're going to be getting about all that stuff is going to be coming out in the summer. So maybe we're looking at a holiday release. I'm not sure. I'll have to make an updated video when I have more information on that. But I, of course, would love to follow Ryu and Ken and everyone on their journeys to, I guess, constantly play Shoto characters. But the problem that lies with this is they'll have a base game that costs full price. You buy that game and there's hardly anything to do except for online versus matches with a few characters. And then they start coming out with DLC. So you start buying the DLC and you're great. Then they come out with another iteration of the game, and then they do this multiple times over. I thought for sure that the Championship Edition of 5 was going to be the last iteration of the game until I bought it, and then they announced more DLC. And I was wow. And I already bought multiple versions of that game. I've bought a Street Fighter, I almost said Soul Calibur, Street Fighter 5 launch, and then whatever came after, the arcade edition, and then the whatever 9 million editions that they have of that game. It's always drip fed, and I can only see this as helping two different types of people. This helps esports because it gets the games out faster, and then it keeps their longevity when it comes to tournaments because new characters and metas are constantly being introduced. Awesome. I'm fine with DLC, I already said that. The only other people that it literally helps is the people who haven't bought the previous iteration of the game. So if Street Fighter 6 comes out and you don't want to get it because you've seen this pattern before, you're going to wait a couple years till the second or the third variation of that game comes out, and then be blindsided by a fourth, and you're going to be shelling out money every time. And often this money is way more than the DLC is actually presented as, because you'll have like a DLC pack that's like $24.99, and then the new iteration of the game will be like $50. So it's a reduced price from the people that bought it prior, but they're paying $60 and $25. So it's kind of like giving you the incentive of not buying the game at launch, which actually hurts the overall experience online anyway, because you have less people online. Even with rollback, like, you're gonna have issues. There's just like not as many people, and on Street Fighter, so there's going to be people off the jump, out the gate, that are going to spend as much money as they want on the game. I understand this, but it's really daunting when you understand that this is not a full-fledged game. This is pretty much a games as a service game, because even though you're not paying for incremental upgrades over time to get a full experience later on, you're buying multiple versions of the same game, whether it's like the arcade edition or the championship edition, or whatever edition they want to call it, and add the latest like 5 characters and then call it a whole new game. They always do like minor upgrades and changes to it, and they are better games. Street Fighter V Championship Edition is the best version of Street Fighter V in my opinion, but I've thought that about every iteration since. And I don't know, maybe it's me, but I'm just tired of paying for the same game over and over and over again with incremental upgrades. It almost feels like a Call of Duty situation where you're just going to have diminishing returns at some point, where you just keep on doing the same thing. Because there's a lot of characters in Street Fighter and a lot of lore, and a lot of people like have their favorite characters that don't even show up like until like the 2nd or 3rd or 4th iteration of the game. Like, unless you're like rocking one of the main Shotos like Ryu and Ken, or possibly other popular characters like Chun-li or Akuma even, or like, I mean, if you're like a Sakura or a Dan Hibiki fan even, like, you're gonna have to wait, right? Like, that's just how it is. So if that's your main, what are you doing in the game? Are you learning other players, or are you learning other characters? Is it the best iteration of your time? Is it the best way that you can spend your time? And that's completely up to different people. I'm not here to make that argument either way. I just think that Capcom needs to like kind of get their shit together, and they need to focus primarily more on not just gameplay, and which just like specific audience they're catering to, because they are pushing for demographics, which are esports. I get that, but the rest of us want to play a game. So at least bare minimum, don't make us wait like a year for a story mode. Just give us a story mode, arcade with endings, some forms of cinematics. And like online, I mean, Capcom's usually pretty good with rollback netcode, so I'm not like too much hating on the netcode. I'm sure that'll be fine. I'm just weary. Like, I want you guys to convince me in the comment section down below, like, why I should buy Street Fighter 6 day one. And of course, I'm going to be talking about the game. As soon as we get any information, I'm going to be making videos about the game. I'm going to give it full coverage here on the channel, just like I did with Street Fighter 5 and Soul Calibur 6 and all that. Injustice 2, Mortal Kombat. But I want to be hyped. Like, I want to get as excited for Street Fighter as I did when I was younger. And this is not a nostalgia pull saying that like, oh, back in my day. I'm just saying that like, if I'm paying $70, bro, on a next-gen console, like, give me a $70 experience. I don't want to hop in there with 12 characters, play online for an hour, get bored, and then play something else the first day I get the game. It's just not what I want to do. I mean, most of these characters' movesets carry over from prior iterations, so if you know how to play like Ryu or Ken in Street Fighter 2, then you know how to play Ryu and Ken in Street Fighter 5. That's just how it is. Like, there may be different incremental changes to the system overall itself, but the way the characters play is pretty similar. It's the same thing with Tekken. So, and to an extent, Soul Calibur, like, to an extent all of them, but like, to make the game more exciting, you gotta give me stuff to do, make me care about the character. And I say this about Soul Calibur all the time, like, get me invested in the characters so that like when they are my main, I like them even more than just like, oh, this character's the coolest moveset, or I like how this character looks, so therefore I'm going to master that character. I don't know, guys. It's maybe a hot take, and maybe I should be more excited that Street Fighter 6 was announced, even though it was shown that they like literally are using like an Adobe like preset logo that they paid like an $80 license fee that anybody can pay for. It's just lazy in my opinion. Not to mention the fact that if I want to run this thing, I want to go all in. I don't want this to be another San Andreas meme, like here we go again kind of deal, you know what I mean? If I get that game day one and like I load it up and there's no story mode and there's only a few characters, I'm probably gonna be pissed. Like I might actually even drop the game this time around, because you can fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, I'm an idiot, fool me 3 times and like I'm done. You know what I mean? Like that, at that point the trickery becomes the norm, and once that is the case, then you're just anti-consumer practices are like going to be shown about through everybody, and you're going to lose all credibility that you have. So we want to love you, Capcom. We want to love Street Fighter. We want to get into this game. It's the first next-gen fully functional experience. I doubt this is going to come out for PS4 or Xbox One. This is probably going to be exclusive to PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series S and X. I want to jump into this wholeheartedly and really get the full use and power out of my console. So don't give me a vanilla, lackluster game. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and in the comment section down below, I would like to know your thoughts on today's video and your thoughts in general about what happened with the Street Fighter 6 reveal. Has it pumped you up? Did you get excited initially and then drop off? Any and all thoughts are always welcome, as well as on the Discord, which you can find another link for in the description box down below. Alright guys, and you know, as I always say, I love it, thank you,
and thank you.